Welcome, friends. We're glad you could rejoin us. We are PRISM, and we are a collective of higher consciousness beings, beings of a higher vibration, who have entered into this realm of Earth, into your reality, in order to help steer you along your evolutionary path, both as individuals and the collective of humanity. This lesson today is called Who You Really Are. It's about who we are, it's about who you are, it's about who everyone is, really, about the fundamental nature of consciousness. Now, for some of you, it may feel a little rudimentary, but we assure you, every time you revisit the idea of who you really are, you imbue yourself with the very essence of your life force. In other words, it's never a frivolous or redundant exercise to remind yourself of who you really are. There's power in returning to the knowledge, even if it feels basic to you. But for some of you, it may be a revelation, and you may understand for the first time in your life that you're something more than simply skin and bones, or even a soul. Now, what is a soul, you may say? Well, let's start with that definition. What is a soul? It's a human's way of referring to the spiritual essence, the part of them that's disembodied, that they consider the fundamental aspect of their personality, the thing that is bestowed upon you in some cases, in some of your religious views, but it is that which you believe will survive infinitely, or at least into future realities. That's the soul, more or less. And that is a pretty good definition of who you really are. You are a non-material consciousness. You are a being that has self-awareness. In that regard, you are part of all that is. When we say all that is, we're talking about the entirety of all the realities possible, not just in this universe, but in every universe, every possible expression of life, of existence. That is all that is, all there is, if you prefer. And what that is an expression of one singularity of consciousness. What is God, you may ask? Well, we're banding about definitions. It is this singularity of consciousness. It is all there is, because everything in every reality is an expression of all there is, of the singularity of consciousness. So therefore, we and you are constituent parts of this grand consciousness. We are bits of consciousness that express the greater consciousness through this individualized personality that we have. Ours being a collective, and yours feeling like an individual personality. But you are also part of greater collectives. You come through into material form from a larger personality. Some call it the oversoul. Some call it the higher self. We are on that level rather than closer to your level, meaning that you are an individualized expression in this form, in these bodies. We have long since stopped coming into bodies, but we still have a rich life through various realities. We still move in and out of realities, including your own. But from our vantage point, we see you as multidimensional beings. So let's recap as we go. You then are a non-material being. You are an expression of all there is, which is consciousness. Consciousness that takes form, material form and otherwise. So you are a small part of all there is, and you may feel like an individual, and you are, but at the same time, you're part of multiple larger identities. You're coming into Earth and into an incarnation from an oversoul that embodies many incarnations, many expressions of that personality of which you are a part. And that oversoul is part of others, and still more. And you can go higher and higher until eventually you have reconstituted everything, theoretically speaking, into all there is. It's more than just theory, but we mean that you can take the analogy all the way back to the beginning. So this is multidimensional life. It's important because you are living in a dimension, the dimension of the earth plane, of this physical field of expression. And to many, if not most of you, that is the sum total of your experience and your identity. I am a being in this material world. That's who I am. We're here telling you that you are that, but that's one facet of your larger identity. You are also, at the same time, part of an oversoul. You're part of a larger identity of consciousness. And you can access that because you are that simultaneously with this physical expression. So whether you like it or not, you're living a multidimensional reality. You're coming into physical form to live out this life. But at the same time, you have access to all of the greater dimensionality and the personality from which you spring into this field of reality. Pretty technical, isn't it? Well, it can be overwhelming, it can get far more technical, but you must understand, we paint here and there, creating pointillisms. Sometimes we'll speak and things will feel very logically progressing. But other times we must dab here and there on the canvas because much of what we'll discuss is referencing your multidimensionality and your true identity. And because of that, it must and indeed does transcend the limitations of your human experience, you see? So when we jump around, it's not to confuse you, it's to talk to the deeper levels of yourself, to get them to activate, to get them to understand that the linear mind is not going to allow you to know yourself as truly and fully as you need to know. You need to be able to embrace the greater dimensionality of yourself. And when you do such a thing, when you attune to it, it will start to talk to you. It will start to interact with you in the cosmic language of itself. It will interact energetically, vibrationally with you. It'll speak through your emotions. It'll give you knowingness. And all of these different ways of connecting you with you will help you access energy, information, pathways, blueprints, which will lead you to greater evolution, to greater experience, and ultimately to a fuller expression of who you truly are and who you are capable of being on this earth plane. You wouldn't be watching this if that wasn't your ultimate goal. So, you are in these bodies, but you're more than that. You're non-material beings. You're literally creating these bodies. Just as the earth itself is being created by the quote-unquote spiritual side of life. Let's use that for shorthand. We can call it consciousness, we can call it spiritual side. To us, those are synonymous. If one feels loaded with religious overtones or a certain semantic, then disregard it. Replace it in your mind. But understand that these are shorthand descriptions for something transcendent to the physical realm, to the greater reality of existence of your non-physical self, your consciousness, which comes through and creates all this. It creates the material realm. It doesn't do it alone. You're part of a great orchestrated effort. But you're in charge of certain things to a greater degree, like your bodies. These are expressions of your energy field. Your energy field, in turn, is a direct expression of your consciousness. Your consciousness, as you know it, in other words, your waking consciousness, is an expression of even deeper parts of your multidimensional self. So, are we painting a picture? Can you see what we're trying to tell you? Can you feel it? Does it resonate? Are you accessing this deeper awareness? Because if you can do so, then you should feel a tingling, a lightness perhaps, an expansion in your heart or your mind, perhaps your whole body energy field, to come into awareness of yourself as yourself, your true self, your multidimensional self, to embrace that and understand it, to even learn about it for the first time, opens you up to great reservoirs of energy, both inside you and energy that can pass through realities from the non-physical into the physical. Simply by knowing who you are enables you to be more of who you can be. How about that? Well, so you are an embodied bit of consciousness, and you're here on earth with all these other embodied bits of consciousness, if you'd like, to interact with each other, to understand the nature of your capabilities in the limited form of physical reality. Reality, a reality such as the planet Earth, is essentially a school. It is a place where spirits, souls, bits of consciousness come into physical form and they adopt the rules of the classroom. In this case, a certain amount of amnesia is necessary. You take on a cloak, a veil, which prevents you from fully knowing or recalling, as it were, the true essence of your identity, your multidimensional self. You shield yourself and each other from this very basic fact of your existence, of your identity, in order that you may interact within the context of this classroom, learning about power, learning about how to express authenticity. Can you be a kind person, a good person? Can you honor each other's free will? Can you reach inside for compassion and empathy, for love, for the true authentic expressions of power, and understand ultimately that they are more potent and powerful for you individually and for you collectively than the false power of having success, of having material gain, of lording over others, of competition, in scarcity, of fighting, of dominating. You see? That's the end game. That is the dissertation. That's the final exam. Can you differentiate between true power, that which resonates with your inner essence, your multidimensional self, because your multidimensional self springs from the consciousness of the universe, the consciousness of all there is, which is inherently benevolent. And we'll get into why there is good and evil in future episodes. But for now, let it be known that the essence of this consciousness is benevolent. It is a vibration of joy, of pure authenticity, of a knowingness that you have intrinsic value as an expression, an individualized expression of the totality of all there is. In other words, you're a little part of everything. You're a holographic emanation of this totality of all there is. And everything around you is the same in that regard. And therefore you all have intrinsic worth. And when you embrace that in yourselves and others, then you understand the nature of true power. The true power of expressing yourself authentically, and authentically speaking, all expressions of all there is want to vibrate with joyful authenticity, of feeling the fundamental goodness of being themselves, and of recognizing in each other the unity from which we all spring. and the fact that we are all facets of this totality, simply gazing at each other, and gazing ultimately with wonder, with joy, and with great fondness, knowing of our connectivity. This is the final exam. But to get there, you've had a hard road. You've gone through lifetimes. Many of you have been through many lifetimes in the context of this classroom in which you have adopted the rules on purpose. You've come down to play Monopoly. If you're playing Monopoly, you must abide by the rules. There's a board, a set of dice, there's money. There are various rules you must follow, and Earth is no different. We tell you it is simply, in its essence, a game that spirits, that consciousness plays. And it may shock you. It may sound like it diminishes or even belittles the nature of this profound life that you are living. But far from it. If anything, it hints to the fact that your life is only expressing itself in a small facet of its totality. It's simply you in the midst of playing a game which is in fact a class. It's an educational game, hence we call it a classroom. And you're not only doing it for yourself, learning to differentiate between all the dichotomies set up in this classroom. You are learning how to be kind. You're learning about what it's like to have and covet things versus to give away things and to be generous. You're differentiating between being powerful and having no access to traditional power. You're learning about healing and about being sick and all these different dichotomies and dualities of this classroom. We should point out that this classroom, as you no doubt are acutely aware, is set up to amplify dichotomies, dualities, and to set them into opposition so that you think that good fights evil. You think that there are rich and poor, and there are sick and there are healthy, and all other manner of differentiation. And this differentiation exists to throw contrasts into your awareness and experience. And through exploring this contrast, you ultimately are meant to see through it back into a vantage point on the unity that underlies everything. You see? So understanding the unity enables you to then understand true power. The power of your authenticity as a multidimensional being who is part of this greater unity. And when you embrace that, collectively, as a planet, as a species, the entire rules of the game will change. The classroom will shift overnight. It must, because as soon as enough students have mastered the material, then it's time for you to take on more advanced learning, isn't it? And you do so instantaneously when enough of you have reached this point. That is why it is such an important time for you to be here in this Earth history, this arc of Earth, because one semester is ending and another is about to begin. It's a great opportunity for all of you, any one of you, to comprehend and then embody this knowledge of being a multidimensional being, of expressing authenticity as a source of your true power, of turning away from the duality and the false power of opposition, power over, of power via control, and embracing power being love, via unity, via compassion, seeing yourself in everything around you and understanding the commonality of everything and the single wellspring from which you all emerge into this material world. And then ultimately to realize that the material world itself is simply a backdrop. It is the classroom. You transcend it. You have come into the classroom, you have limited yourself in order to be a student. But when you master the material, as you will do in these coming years, then you are ready to see everything as it really is. Now, some of you have already mastered this material, and there's much more to talk about. We will be addressing those of you who are ready to take the next step, and we are also speaking to those of you who are ready to take the first step. You're equally valid, you're equally needed. It is no judgment to where you've been in the past, if you have awoken already or you have not. You could still be a very old soul whose eyes are just popping open and seeing your reality as it really is. You could be a very young new soul who has much experience in higher realms of existence, other planes of reality, with high vibrations that you have brought into this plane of reality that enables you to wake up relatively quickly. And you too are desperately needed at this time. Don't judge yourself for where you are on the path. Just realize that as you tune in to us, and as you venture down this path, that you are going towards the light which is beckoning you, the future which needs you. And we will address many, many more fundamentals of the reality you're in and the potential for where this reality can go in future episodes. For now, we urge you every day when you wake up, whether it's with a yawn or whether you spring right out of bed ready to do your push-ups and calisthenics, or if you're somewhere in between, if you just really don't even want to open the drapes, wherever you are in your state of mind, your state of emotions, your state of awareness even, you can start tomorrow waking up and reminding yourself that you're a multidimensional being. This body is simply an expression. It's a game piece on the board that you're moving around in this educational game you're playing in this classroom. And when you take a few moments to remind yourself of that, this body is simply a physical expression, a vehicle for me. I am in fact a multidimensional being. I am consciousness that extends through multiple realities of existence. Which means, by the way, I will live on, in case any of you have been wondering when we would get to that. If you had any question about it, of course you will live on. You are consciousness. Consciousness exists outside of physicality. In other words, it doesn't need physicality to have its existence. Physicality is secondary to consciousness. Therefore, your existence is also outside of this limited form of reality. And you will all understand that one day. Hopefully a day far in the future, for you have much work to do. But start every morning connecting to that feeling of multidimensionality, understanding that you're more than this body, that you are consciousness. And when you hold on to that and cultivate a practice of returning to that idea over and over, you will see immediate benefit. You will have new ideas. You will make connections in your mind. They may lead to all sorts of things in your life. They may lead to new relationships of various sorts. They may lead to creativity that helps you in your job, helps you gain more resources, helps you create more art. It may inspire you to greater service for others. Open your mind to new ways to be more empathic and compassionate and helpful to others, people you know or people you don't know. It may inspire you to send energy to the world, to be more present to your surroundings. You may also start to whisper bits of information, give you intuitive nudges that give you insight about your past lives, about the nature of Earth, of the nature of reality itself, perhaps even allowing us and others like us. Some may call us spirit guides if you'd like. Some may call us otherworldly beings. Some may call us angels. You can call us whatever you'd like, but we who are multidimensional as well and are at a higher, if you'd like, vantage point than you, we'll talk to you if you open the door to us. And if you're watching this, you've already cracked it open. And if this resonates with you, then the door will swing open even wider. And when you open yourself to higher dimensional beings, most importantly your own oversoul, then all of a sudden your entire life will start flowing in a different way, as if by magic, taking you to paths you scarcely believed you could walk upon, or maybe didn't even know existed. You must keep raising your energy, raising your energy. Fundamentally, you start doing so by reminding yourself you are more than a body, you are a bit of consciousness. You are multidimensional consciousness, because consciousness is always multidimensional. Your mind is not trapped in your head. It can go wherever it wants. It can go to the farthest reaches of any galaxy. So when you understand the mind is not trapped in the body, nor is it a product of the body, it is not simply an expression of random firings of various electrons, of various chemicals and so forth that are part of the biology of your body. No, your mind, as it were, your consciousness is you, and that is eternal. Understand that, embrace that, understand that's who you really are, and you're 1 foot down the path that will ultimately lead you to an extraordinary experience of evolution, a wondrous life, and a job. Yes, you don't think we're simply talking to you just because we like to chit-chat. We're recruiting you, friends. Recruiting you, or rather reminding you, that you also have a mission in life. You're meant to help all of the people and the beings in this classroom get a passing grade, so that the entirety of Earth can move to this more loving state, can evolve to a higher form of education, expressing through love, through multidimensional authenticity. All of this awaits you. And we look forward to being by your side, being there every step you take. We know you now. You can call on us, PRISM, through dreams, through meditations, simply in your mind. Ask for us to contact you directly, speak to us directly, and we will help open the door further so you may better know yourself. We're glad you're on this journey, and until next time, we love you. Wish you peace and love.